This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 176 of the Dressage Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Equestrian Collections.
This is Reese Koffler-Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Fergus, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show. Also, we have Glenn, our producer, on the show with us today.
Hey, guys.
Well,
Hi.
guys, we have a great show today. We, as last week, we talked about the performance horse side of Devon, and this week we're going to talk about breeding at Devon.
Well, it's a huge show. I haven't been, but I understand that it's a big deal for all the breeders in in the States and some in Canada as well.
It is. And we also have Jean-Yves Tola of Jumpstart Farm. He is a wonderful breeder, but he also is a huge advocate for getting young horses out. And he's helped with Spikos Farm develop the Young Horse Show Series, which is a great way to get your young horses out, get people, have people look at them, and also a good way if you want to sell a young horse to get that out.
Yeah, giving them great exposure and give breeders a chance to show off their great horses that they're all breeding and working hard to do that. So that's nice. And Reese, you have a young horse too?
I do. I know we've talked a little bit about, I do have a breeding program. It's a very small one, but I have a wonderful mare that I showed Grand Prix and several years ago. She got hurt. And so I bred Denali, who I've talked about on the show, who's doing great. He's a riding horse now. And I also have bred a 2-year-old. Her name is Fleur de Lis, and we call her Minnie. And I have a soon to be, as of tomorrow, weanling. So we are weaning tomorrow. Really not looking forward to it at all. It's a really awful day.
I was just saying that's a heartbreaking job to have to do. to pull a baby from his mama is just... Yeah.
You're not helping
breaks my
me at
heart.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
How do you do it, Reese? How do you take mom away, or what do you do?
Yeah, that's always a good discussion. So, the mare, I've shown her all over the world, really. She's a wonderful mare. So she's good. I think the way my property, I think it depends a lot on your property. And I always sort of talk with my vet on what he thinks is the best way to do it, and my staff. So we all sort of know exactly what's going to happen when it happens. But I actually put the baby with an old mare of ours who's raised several babies for my mom and for myself. And she's a wonderful sort of aunt and nanny. So she's been with her for several weeks, and mom is ready to wean. So what's going to happen tomorrow is we actually will tranquilize baby a little bit. We're going to walk them down. They have to walk. It's the way my property is set up. There's some woods that separate the two properties and a creek, but thankfully there's no water in the creek at the moment. So we're going to walk across the creek, and then I'll take the old mare and the little baby, and we'll put them in the stall together, and then we'll have the trailer waiting. And Jamaica is her name, but we call her Big Mama. So I'll load Big Mama up and let the other guys be with the baby, and I will take Big Mama away in the trailer with me, and then they'll set and get the mare and the baby all settled down in the new digs. So it's going to be a big day. It's a big week. We also have our regional finals this week. So I'm not sure. I'm kind of glutting for punishment this week, but they're ready to wean. Tomorrow's the day. And then we actually head to the horse park on Wednesday for the regional finals.
Along with a big driving show there too, right?
Yes. Glenn was
So we
saying,
talked about that last week, right? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I think the National Drive is there this week.
Yes, it is, everybody.
And they're driving, when the National Drive is there, you're talking, 40, 50 carriages that are driving all over the park all the time. So it's like...
Thank you, Glenn.
You're welcome.
You.
This is a big week for you, Reese. This is going to be...
It is a really big week,
But
everybody.
you're going on vacation next week, so you can drink it off.
I am going to vacation next week. So my husband and I, Travis and I, are going to enjoy some family time. So I may need it after the drive. Yeah. So I'm hoping, I think they've sort of worked out the fact that they are going to keep the carriages away from the main stadium. But their horses are going to have to walk back and forth. So it is going to be an interesting week. I'm hoping my
it's
horses
funny
leave.
too, because being a carriage driver, I've obviously come across many riders on horses, and some horses really take to the carriages, and some do not. It depends on the
Yeah,
horse.
you never know. Yeah, you never know.
We used to go trail riding, and the first time out, obviously, all the horses had to get used to the carriage. But then, when we would go trail riding, and we'd do serious trail riding, I'd be the only carriage, and there'd be 12 riders. And some of the horses would get they would be right behind my ear, and driving in the carriage. They would just follow that carriage, and that became their safety place. It became their comfort place, was right behind
Really?
the carriage. Yeah. A lot of them would attach themselves to the carriage and didn't want to be anywhere but right behind that carriage because I think they felt safe there.
Really?
I wouldn't have thought
I
that.
will. I will let you know how it goes.
Yeah, we want to know how all that goes, and we wish
Yeah.
you luck.
I know it's a big week, so so it's a big one. But
I had a
will let-
question. No, sorry, I had a question
Oh yeah,
about your foals. I didn't know. Are they all by the same stallion?
they are not. They I have 2 Rousseaus and I have one UB40. And they're American bred horses, which is really exciting to have some wonderful stallions here. Sometime we'll talk about this is always a big question, but it's how do you choose a stallion for your mare? And I think that's always something that we look at. I had a very narrow pool because I needed fresh schooled semen because my mare's actually 21 this year. And so my vet just said, we need that kind of semen, and so that narrowed my pool. But if I had the option to use frozen, you can use frozen semen from all over the world. So that really opens up what you can do. So it's a really interesting topic and something that it's fun to talk about on the radio show a little bit because we eventually all have to get out. Your horse or look at breeding. So they have been good crosses. I've been very happy. The 2 Rousseaus are turning out to be just incredibly sweet and willing horses. So I'm very pleased with them. And I've had my mom actually bred conformation hunters when I was growing up. So we always had mares and foals around. And my mom had a very, very clear program with her foals on how she got them ready. So I've had to sort of develop my own way with my horses. And I think I'm on number 3 now, and we are really hands-on with them. We do introduce them to clipping and the trailer, and I work a lot with the mounted police, the Lexington Mounted Police. They come out and I give them lessons in exchange for them working with the young horses, and they do all kinds of stuff with them. Yeah, they walk over tarps and push balls, and and yeah, it's really fun. And so I've learned a lot about groundwork that honestly I didn't know before. So it's been a fun way for me to sort of expand my business, and I did it because I had a lovely mare who I knew her daughter. She had 2 daughters in Holland who did really well, so I knew she had nice horses. So I think if you have a really, really quality mare, then it is something to look at. But raising babies is just like anything else. You really have to know what you're doing and handle them properly. They need to be sweet, but they can't be naughty, and they're naughty. I was just petting my baby and she came up and she just bit me. So she got in trouble for that. So, they're not, they're fun, but you also have to be able
it's not
to
the easiest.
handle them.
It's not the easiest, that's for sure. So, anyways, that's cool. Great topic to talk about, and the whole breeding side, because all of our great performance horses have to come from somewhere, right? So
Exactly.
it's nice that there's lots of breeders out there that are doing a great job, and that's fun.
Exactly. So it was actually a big week. And Anne Gribbons announced Saturday that she will not remain as technical advisor and coach of the U.S. team when her contract expires November 30th. And so she sent an email actually to Dressage News, and it's become an actual formal announcement now. And it said, "It was a privilege and my pleasure to spend the past 3 years working with the greatest of our American dressage athletes. I wish them all the best and much success in the future." So we wish Anne well. She has a farm.
It's too bad. I mean, she's a great resource, and I think that she's really helped the American riders and the team, but I think she's just looking forward to going to do her own thing again, right?
I think so. She's been, really, she's done. She did the WEG. I actually, the horses when they were here in Kentucky stayed here at my farm, so I worked quite a bit with the team at that time. And then she also was the coach for the Pan Am Games in Mexico, and also in London. So she's been a lot of places and worked. And I read an interview that she said she really wanted to get the coaches in set up, and that's happened with Jeremy and with Debbie and Scott Hassler. So it'll be interesting to see who fills this role. This is a big role. And as we all know, after the Olympics, we have some work to do. So we will keep you abreast as soon as we hear of anything of what happens with our team coach. After a break from Equestrian Collections, we're going to come back and speak with Mariana Heyman of Marydale Farm in North Carolina about her report from dressage and breeding at Devon.
Hi, Glenn here with Horse Radio Network, and I'm here with Debbie from Equestrian Collections. What are we talking about today, Debbie?
Hi, Glenn. Today we're going to be talking about our Equestrian Collections Facebook page. I hope all of your listeners know that we have a big presence on Facebook. You can find us by just putting Equestrian Collections in your search box. We have a lot of things going on there. We have contests on there. We have announcements of things that are happening in the horse world. If we find something that we think our customers will be interested in, we'll post that. You can interactively speak with us on Facebook. You can interactively speak with each other on Facebook. You can talk about products. You can talk about your horse. You can enter contests. It's a very vital part of our company, and we're on there every day. So we look forward to hearing people talk to us on our Facebook page.
Very good. And I know we post our shows on there. You can actually listen to some of the Horse Radio Network shows on the Equestrian Collections Facebook page as well, and we appreciate that. You can find it by searching for Equestrian Collections on Facebook.
Mariana, thank you so much for coming on the show today, and I am looking forward to the whole Devon breeding report. So can you start telling us, how do you qualify and how do you even get to Devon?
There is no qualification to get into the open breed classes or into the individual breed classes. You do have to qualify for the regional championships. The East Coasts are hosted by Dressage at Devon, and that's why Dressage at Devon can host. They've had up to 700 horses in the breed show in past years, so it's a pretty big event.
So can you tell us a little bit, maybe a little bit of the history of the breed show at Devon and what kind of classes are offered year to year and what it's all about?
Certainly. The breed show at Devon started in 1975. I've been an active competitor since 1992. I have not skipped a year. It entails classes for young horses divided by age and gender. And then the second day is mature horses, which are 4-year-old and older. Material, which is 3, 4, and 5-year-old horses under saddle. And Thursday is the individual breed classes, where you compete against other horses of the same breed. For example, all the Hanoverians will be in a class divided by 2 and under and 3 and older. The Oldenburgs, the Dutch, and the Hanoverians split by age, but the other breeds do not. You will have Gypsy Vanners, Frisians, quarter horses, Arabians, and they'll have their own individual breed class, and they are judged towards dressage, but taking into consideration what the breed is and what the conformation should be. So it's a lot of fun, especially on Thursday. We call that the Insanity Day because there are so many people and so many horses and so many spectators that it's elbow to elbow.
So Mariana, how does it work when you when you decide to take a young horse to Devon? That seems very nerve-wracking. How does that work?
In my particular case, I evaluate my horses in June and July. Closing date is usually second week of August, so it's well ahead of the show. With young horses, what you're looking at today is not what you're going to be looking at the end of the week. So you evaluate your horses and you try to take them out to at least one show ahead of time so that you know how they'll behave. And then you put them on a very good nutrition program and conditioning program. In my case, I'm very fortunate to have access to an aqua tread, and my yearlings and older will go and make a biweekly trip and go into the aqua tread. You make sure that, especially in the South, we bring them in during the day so their coats don't get sun bleached. You practice whether or not they respect your body space, and whoa and go. And it's always nice to have a professional handler and a whip person.
So can you tell us a little bit about the atmosphere at the show? I mean, you've been going for quite a few years, and you know, how many horses are there, and what it's like?
It's a big family getting together for an annual family reunion, welcoming new members. That's the atmosphere that I take from it every year. I look forward to seeing old friends, making new friends. It's interesting in that it is one of the few shows that you go to and there are people who will cheer you on even if they don't know you. Carnival is not quite the right word for it, but party seems to be, and serious party.
Oh, this is the show for me, I think, Philip. This sounds good.
That sounds awesome.
So, Mariana, when you talked about the handler and the whip person, can you talk a little bit about what their roles are, how you need to have your horse ready to work with that person?
Certainly. A handler is the person who will actually present the horse to the judge. He or she will take the horse into the arena, stand them up for the confirmation, and we put them in a place called the open position so the judge can see all four legs from the side view. And then the handler has to know that when the judge walks in front of the horse, he has to square the horse up so that the judge can see the front legs. Goes to the other side, the open position has to reverse. When the judge goes behind, has to square up behind. Then the handler needs to walk the horse on the small triangle. Going away, the judge is looking for correctness of gaits. Across the long side, we're looking for the mechanical use of the body, the swing, the energy, the forward momentum, the willingness to cooperate. And then coming back again, it's also a different point of view for correctness of gait. The second triangle is at the trot. This is where horses wow the audience. They go away in a slow trot. They go across the long leg of the triangle at the best gait they can go. And then they come back towards the judge. What the whip person does is encourage from behind. The way you can think of it is the handler is the reins and feet of the horse, of the rider, and the whip person is the legs of a rider. And if your young horse is prepared properly and then shows in hand, I've had reports from people who bought horses that I've shown in hand. They ask me if I've put tack on them and lunged them or done anything. And I'm somewhat handicapped. I don't start my horses. But showing in hand is a really good basic education for performance horses. And if you have a very good professional handler, they can get the best out of a horse, even if they've never dealt with it before.
Yeah, I think it's great that they get used to a show atmosphere before they're ever brought somewhere to be ridden. I think the horses that have done the breed classes, I've found for sure, handle the whole experience a lot easier when they're later in life. So I think that's kind of a leg up on the competition sometimes.
I think it is as well. I mean, a foal will take its cues from its dam. You've got a pro and con with that. It's a little dangerous to take out young babies and expose them to the bacteria and other influences on the showgrounds. But on the other hand, they learn to stand, get bathed, braided, handled, trailered, and groomed, and stay in a strange place. And when their dam takes that in stride, they do. And that lays a groundwork for the future that's invaluable.
So one of the things that I wanted to ask is, how do you decide, let's say you want to go to Devon, you really evaluate your horse in June. How do you really evaluate and say, okay, yes, it's worth the money. You know, for me, that's a 14-hour haul. Mm-hmm. You know, how do you decide that is my question.
It's same here. It's 13 hours for us, and my babies need to be of a good age. I look at their conformation. I look at their growth rate. I look at their siblings. I want to know that this is a top quality horse. I don't want to take one of my good horses. That's not good enough. There are some horses that are born with that special, look at me, I'm top of the world. And it's not anything you can breed for, but it pops up every so often. And when you have one like that, they show themselves beautifully. And even if they may not be the best mover in the world, their mechanics will translate into power and elegance. And that always gets you a few extra general impression points. I usually know that's a gut reaction for me. For someone else, they have to look at their program and their horse. And a good guide is to take it out to another breed show and see what a judge thinks, or talk to another breeder in your area, see what they tell you, because most breeders will be brutally honest about what they see. My premise in my breeding program is that, if I'm ever satisfied with what I have, I need to get out, because I'm no longer going to improve.
So that's a pretty good mantra, I think. So at Devon, how has the show changed over the years? What have you seen as trends, or just your experience? How has that changed?
The vendors have changed. Management has changed. It's attrition over the years. There are people who love the current situation, people who miss the old situation, but despite that, I think it has retained its prominence. European judges and breeders look at Devon every year and like to see what's winning here. It has international prominence. It's the largest breed show in the world. And in that regard, I think a win at Devon is more valuable to a breeding program than winning a regional championship or a USDF Horse of the Year standing.
Yeah, Devon has always been the place that it's so amazing to go, even as a sport horse, as a rider as well. So, yeah. Mariana, can you tell us a little bit about the horses that you saw this year and the winners this year?
It was a very good year. The quality across the board was amazing. Usually you'll see the top farms winning most of the classes because they know what they're doing. They've been doing it for a long time. This year, you had so very many top quality horses. Kate Palmquist from Virginia, her yearling Francesca won the yearling fillies class. Top quality horse, small time breeder. Stood a stallion named Fielding, and this is the last foal from that stallion that she will have. Returning to win a class was Cha-Ching from Hilltop, and he won the Colts class. And that looks like, time will only tell, but it looks like it could possibly be a stallion, a stallion coming up. Then in the 3-year-old fillies class, my God, that class, any one of the top 10 horses could have won that class on any given day. I take any one of them home. What made my Devon was horses that I bred went out and did super well for their new owners. And then we had the foal champion this year who ended up making the front page of Euro Dressage, which, again, was quite a high for me. But what I also appreciated was on Mature Horse Day, the grand champion was a broodmare. And that warms my heart because I'm a mare person at heart. And breeding is built on the quality of our mares. The stallion can only do so much. It's the mare that brings so much more to the table. And to have a broodmare recognized as the grand champion is a really, really good thing.
Now, over the past few years, we've seen a real, a depressed economy that everybody's been dealing with. How has that affected breeders and maybe the breed shows? And have you seen a real difference in the past 2-3 years because of this?
Certainly we have. A lot of breeders have gotten out. They can't afford to keep doing it. The cost of doing the business of breeding has gotten so expensive. Vets have to charge more. Semen is more. Raising them is more. And the economy has cut back on the potential buyers out there. So breeders have cut back on the number they produce. Some breeders have gotten out. And in turn, that has affected the breed shows throughout the country. Even Devon was down by 60 horses this year from last year. I think that the economy is stabilized enough that breeders are now looking at upping production or at least stabilizing their production. It's starting to happen right now in this country, and it will happen probably in Europe in the next year or two. There will be a lack of 3- and 4-year-old horses because it's been going on that long. So high quality, good quality horses are going to be very hard to find because the breeders just stopped producing.
So, Mariana, tell us when you say, okay, I'm going to take my horse to Devon, is that when you really start to prep them, or have you started to prep them earlier in the spring?
I start right away when they're born, and if I'm thinking about a foal going to Devon, I start right away. I make sure I have a good nutritionist I consult. I have a very good farrier, and I do that for the newborns. If I'm talking about a yearling or a 2-year-old, it will be May or June. I'll start thinking about looking out in the field and seeing if anybody at liberty is moving well enough to take my breath away. And if we see something out in the field that's doing that, that's the horse that I then will start to prep. And again, I will bring it in during the day, get the coat going well. I'll evaluate behavior. I will evaluate gait in hand, meaning in the halter versus at liberty in the field. And if that horse is still coming up to my expectations for a Devon competitor, I will start doing the aqua tread in mid-July and putting the horse in the aqua tread twice a week. Reese, as you know, I've had 2 hip replacements, so I can't do the ponying or running up and down the hills with these youngsters. So for me, the aqua tread's the right thing. But anybody can do conditioning. All it needs to do is some up and down hills or some lunging in a round pen at liberty. But you need to start conditioning at least 8 weeks before the show, if not sooner. But we watch the progress, and then when the closing date comes, if they're making sufficient progress, I'll send in the entry. And I still leave it open to whether or not they're going to go until about 2 weeks ahead of time. And then, again, final evaluation. If they've lived up to my expectations, we start, figuring out how much hay, grain, and supplies we need to take.
You have an amazing program. Congratulations on the full win. That is huge. That's very exciting. And thank you for coming on the show. This was really educational for both Philip and I and all our listeners. That was great. Thank you. Well, thank you, Mariana, for coming on the show. And Mariana's website is marydalefarm.com. And after a break from the Horse Radio Network, we're going to speak with Jean-Yves Tola of Jumpstart Farm in Lexington, Kentucky, and his involvement in the Young Horse Show Series.
Do you have a company in the horse world? Are you looking to get the word out about your products, services, or shows? At the Horse Radio Network, we understand our advertisers need to reach the equestrian consumer in the most efficient, cost-effective way possible. Internet radio shows like this one, also called podcasts, allow the flexibility and creativity to craft unique messages that stand out from the herd and reinforce your existing marketing and social media strategies. If you want to learn more about advertising on this show or any of our shows on the Horse Radio Network, contact our account manager, Lisa, at 847-790-4476. That's Lisa at 847-970-4476, or you can drop her an email at lisa@horseradionetwork.com. Our listeners are terrific, engaged, and avid horse people, the ones that you are looking for.
Jean-Yves, thank you so much for coming on the Dressage Radio Show today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm really excited to have you because you were the kind of the creator of the Young Horse Show series. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that is and how people can get involved?
Sure. The Young Horse Show series is basically a show for young horses. We require them to be from 1 year old to 5 year old, and they need to prove their age. In other words, so the show means something because the divisions and the classes are separated in age groups, and basically the concept was created by the North American Book and a couple other people. And all we did basically is apply proven show environments that we got from Europe, mostly France and Germany, and apply them here for the U.S. Because we believe that there's a lack of affordable show venues for the youngsters where they can get basically what we call cheap miles, being introduced to a show environment, an arena, different things, being in a different stall, in a different barn, which down the line when they become 5, 6, and 7, and they start to really have to compete in big, expensive shows, then they have some miles, and they don't have to go through all of that process at that age, and they can actually do it beforehand. So that's basically the concept, and in more details, we offer different classes. We offer an at liberty class, which we believe is extremely important. So the canter of the horse can be judged, which is something that we don't really have here. Sometimes at inspections, but as far as showing goes, for the youngsters, we don't have that. So it's a great way to assess the ability of the horse. We also have a jumpsuit class, which is also good for young horses. And they don't necessarily have to be jumpers. We have a lot of dressage young horses that actually like to go through the jumpsuit. It's another way to assess their willingness and their ability to use their body over a little fence. And so, we believe that it's a great way to promote and create a great sales environment for the horses as well, for breeders to get together and exchange ideas and break the ice a little bit between breeders and also trainers and riders that can come, since we also have a couple under saddle classes for dressage and jumpers and hunters. So that's basically it. And we have about half a dozen. We had a half a dozen shows in 2011. We had 8 shows in 2012, and we're basically trying to expand these shows to the whole country. And we basically go, state by state, try to find hosts that have the facility to host such a show, and then we help them produce the show. And that's about it, really. Then people come, and we've had a lot of success and a lot of great feedback. I mean, it's not a perfect oiled machine yet, but it's getting there. It still needs a little tweaking, but overall, we're pretty satisfied with the concept and the results so far.
Now, Jean, can you give us all of the locations? You said there were, 8 locations for 2012, or, all the upcoming locations for the shows?
So we've had, in 2012, we had 2 shows in Wellington, Florida. We had 2 shows in Ocala, Florida. We had a show in Lexington, Kentucky. We had a show in Bethel, Pennsylvania. And we had a show in Poplar, Massachusetts, which is not too far from Boston. And we also had a show in Atlanta, in Georgia, close to Atlanta. So that was the 2012. And just as a little add-on, these shows are all qualifiers for the final show that takes place so far in Wellington, Florida, at the West Showgrounds. And so the horses have a chance to really be under the lights and really well marketed, and also get a real I would say, big-time show experience if they actually qualify and go to the finals in Wellington. So we were trying to keep a little bit of a competitive aspect for it too, because these classes have somewhat of a performance into them, which we think is really important, which we also think is lacking in the show environment. And I'm mostly talking about the under 4-year-old or the horses that are not under saddle. I think we have a great system for under saddle show, lacking a bit of schooling shows, but there's quite a bit of venues where you can actually go and show your horse under saddle. But before that, there's really not that much except for the hunter breeding shows and the dressage breeding shows, which are great in their own respect, but still to us lacking a little bit of performance for the horses that are participating.
So, Jean-Yves, if let's say, I would love to bring my horse to the show. How does it work? How do I enter? How do I find information? And let's say I have a 2-year-old. What does she need to do to come to the show?
Okay. So, it's basically I would say kind of a modern organization in the sense that, and also because one of our main goals is to keep the costs extremely low for the participants. That's really our number one key to these shows is so it's cheap for people to come. Because as you know, breeders sometimes don't have the kind of money to go and show 4 or 5 horses all year long on the big A shows. So we basically have chosen to use the internet as our main vehicle for marketing and advertising and also entering in the show. So we have a website, which is www.younghorseshow.com. And on this website, every show will have its own prize list that you can download and print. And it's entry forms, which you can also download and print. And we try to, do mass emails and advertise as much as we can. But as I said, we use the internet mostly because it's very affordable. And, if you have a 2-year-old, and let's say there's a show in Lexington, Kentucky, and you're in Lexington, Kentucky, you keep, looking at the website. When you see that the date is posted, you go on the website and you download the prize list and the entry form, and you fill it out and send it in, and you're in. A 2-year-old, for example, has the possibility of doing 3 classes. There's what we call the in-hand at liberty class, which is a class which is judged, the horse is presented in hand, kind of like a dressage breed show. The conformation and the correctness of the horse is going to be judged, and then the horse is let loose, and therefore the gait can be judged at liberty. You also have a jump shoot class where the horse can go and tour jump shoot, and we also have a schooling jump shoot class for horses that have never been to a jump shoot, for example, or need a little bit of a warm-up before going into the regular class. And that class is not judged, but it is, practiced just the same way as the other one. And we basically introduce a horse to a jump shoot in a very safe way. People don't always have the facility or the staff to run a horse through a jump shoot correctly, and as everybody knows, a jump shoot can be a bit tricky with a young horse if you're a little short-handed or if you don't really know what you're doing. So we give these horses an opportunity to have a good experience in the jump shoot.
Jean, can you give us an idea about the rest of the classes that are offered? I guess there's the 2-year-olds compete against each other, right? And like the yearlings and any other classes that people could be interested in?
Sure. There's basically 5 divisions in the show, and they're all broken down into age groups. So you have the in-hand at liberty class, which is from 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 2-year-old, and 4 and 5-year-old together. You have the jump shoot class, which is we don't have that for yearlings. However, we do offer the schooling jump shoot for yearlings, but we don't think a yearling should really be in a competitive jump shoot class. It's a little too soon. the same thing. 2-year-old, 2-year-old, 4-year-old, and 5-year-old. 4-year-old can do the jump shoot. I'm sorry. The 5-year-old are not eligible for the regular jump shoot class because we believe that a 5-year-old should do the saddle jumping if that's what they're going to do. And when they are, it's usually not the best thing for them to go in a jump shoot again. It can be useful, but not really recommended. So we just don't have the 5-year-old jump shoot class. And then we have 3 divisions under saddle. We have a flat class that we just call it a flat class. It's kind of a material class where up to 2 horses can come together in the ring, and the judge will ask them to walk, trot, canter, and with a few extensions and a few collections, but very light. And basically, it's a class where a young horse can really express themselves. We like to see a horse being ridden uphill and forward, which we think sometimes lacks in a purely dressage test, which for the young ones and the lower tests are really good, obviously, but very into the submission part of the horse, and sometimes kind of miss the potential of the horse. So we wanted the people to be able to show the potential of the horse in these classes. Then we have a regular dressage test for dressage riders, if you wish. And we have also a under saddle jumping class, which is modeled a little bit after the Bundeschampionat in Germany. And it's a class where you have a very easy course of 8 fences, and you actually are able to do it twice. So you go over the course once, and then you take a break for 2 minutes, and you go again. So you can fix problems, and the judge can really see how the horse is reacting and the rider is reacting to the course. And it is not timed, so you can take as long as you want. If you get a double clear or a score that's good enough, then you can qualify. So these are 5 divisions that we offer.
Well, that is great, Jean-Yves, and what you're doing is really a phenomenal thing for all breeders and riders and trainers out there. Jean-Yves, if we wanted to find you on the website, on the web, how would we do that?
Well, you just type www.younghorseshow.com.
Well, thank you, Jean-Yves, very much for coming on the show. And again, jumpstartfarm.com is Jean-Yves' website. And next week, Philip, we have a little bit of time off.
Yeah, well, you're going on a trip, right?
We are. Travis and I are actually going to go to Ireland. So we are just going for fun. We've both always wanted to go there, and look forward to the week of no horses. I don't mind seeing them in the field. But after my big week at the regionals and carriages and weaning, a little vacation will be fun.
I always had when we had our big farm, Philip, we had about 20, 25 boarders at one point. And, when we would go away, I would say to Jennifer, I don't want anything to do with horses. I don't care what you say. We're going away, and we're not even looking at a horse. It never quite worked out that way. But
well, it's surprising with a boarding barn, you get any time to go away.
I know.
Always,
well, that leads to a good question there, Reese.
Yeah.
When we went away, we were always the kind that, you kind of want to know what's going on at home, but yet we didn't, because there was nothing we could do about it.
Yeah.
And we didn't want them calling us with every little thing. So we'd give them all the name. Are you that way, or do you want to know about every little thing? I think there's 2 types of people.
Yeah, I think that for me, I do try to take 2 weeks off a year. One is in the summer, I go on vacation with my family, and then one is the fall where Travis and I go and just have an us vacation. And we like to travel, fun places. So I don't want to know in a lot of ways. I have a wonderful farm manager. Her name is Rachel Sawinski, and she stays here at the farm. I have a wonderful vet. I have a wonderful farrier. My mom, my dad, my sister, sort of everyone's in town. So no, call them, call my insurance agent if needed, hear the truck keys, take the horse to the clinic if needed. And so for me, I have great staff, and Umberto, my farm manager, is also here. So they do a really good job, honestly, of taking care of things, thankfully. But I need that. I think everyone's a little bit different, but living on the property and sort of living and breathing it, and having a husband that's not horsey. I think it's really important that we get away. So I guess if that answers the question, I try not to, call. I'll send an email, but I'm going to be in Ireland, so there's not much I can do.
What can you do?
I always liked cruises because they can't reach you.
Yeah.
That's it. You're not getting a hold of me on the cruise. How about you, Philip? How do you feel about that?
I'm both ways, actually. I really do like to know what's going on, but it's just becomes frustrating when there's nothing you can do about it, right? So, I'll go away and there'll be no contact, and I think that's a little bit better because if something does happen, you just want to go home, right? Then you're not going to enjoy your time when you're away. So, what can you do?
We had it bad because when we had the big stable, we also had a tack shop, tack business, and we were one of the first retailers online in the mid-'90s on the internet. So we had that running at the farm in addition to the farm. So it was like, and we would get calls about the tack business, and then sometimes there are things we had to deal with there. But I would have rather dealt with that than I did the horse end of things. It was like, let's just hope that runs fine.
Yeah. Just cross your fingers and pray. And when you got a great support system, you don't worry that much, I guess, right? And
my horses we were all working really hard this week, and we've been working, very hard the last month, kind of getting ready. So actually my horses, they're going to get a little downtime, and I kind of try and schedule my life around the horses having a break, but the clients need a break. Everyone sort of needs a break around here. So it's perfect timing, actually. So I also try to do that. So,
but that means next week we won't be doing the show.
Yeah, actually.
So what's on tap, Glenn?
Well, Samantha Clark and I, she's the host of the eventing radio show, will be here for the Dressage show next week. And what will happen is we're going to have on Rebecca Hart and Missy Ranshausen. Rebecca, of course, is the Paralympian we've had on the show before she headed off to London. And Missy Ranshausen is the coach of the Paralympic team. Well, there's something very special going on, and this will already have happened by the time this show goes out. But Rebecca had the opportunity to be on Good Morning America yesterday with Ian Romney. And they have to ride, as I understand it, we don't know all the details yet, but because I haven't seen it yet, we're recording this ahead of time. They're going to get to ride into the show, and they're talking about, of course, Ian Romney has MS, right? Isn't it MS?
Yes.
And they're talking about therapeutic riding and riding for the handicapped and things like that. So Rebecca was thrilled to be invited. They came down to Missy's farm where Rebecca works, and they filmed down there, and it's just been a whirlwind for her. She got the call like 2 days before this happened. And so she's had a little notoriety, and, I don't care what your politics are when they call up and say, you do want to come up and hang out with the wife of the person running that might be president in a month. You say yes.
Yes, you do. I can't wait to listen. And Becca's such a wonderful person, and so is Missy. So I can't wait. And I'm gonna, this will air, but I'm gonna try and watch it tomorrow.
Yeah, try and watch it. As I said, it will already have happened by the time this show goes live. But we'll give you the report. They'll be talking about what happens behind the scenes at Good Morning America. So we'll have that report for you next week.
That's really cool. Yeah, looking forward to that, and I guess a week off. So that'll be great.
Yeah. Well, everybody, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website at dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me at philipparksequestrian.com, and my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Equestrian Collections, and don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we will see you in 2 weeks.